Hi, welcome to lecture 3 for this week. I am still Dr. Chidinma Onwubere. In the last lecture, we discussed the link between media and information literacy, MIL, and civic participation. In this very lecture, however, we shall dwell on interacting with the media and other information providers, such as the library, archives, and internet. To fully understand the concept of media and information literacy, you have to understand how the media operates, how they construct stories, shape information, and the technologies they use for presenting it. It is also important to know the codes they use in the production of information, as some of them may result in the presentation of information that may be difficult to understand. It is pertinent to know who codes this information or messages so as to ascertain whether their own perceptions of life rub off on the content and the presentation of their stories. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Describe the key concepts of this lesson, such as communication, interaction, meaning, information providers, and 2. To discuss how the knowledge of these concepts assist citizens or users to critically interact with the media and other information providers. Now, let us go through how media communicates meaning. Media pass information across to the audience through diverse means, which can be a factor of prevailing circumstance at a particular point in time. In relation to media and information literacy, however, the following key areas should be examined closely in order to understand how media and other providers of information operate. That is, in terms of how they convey meaning, how the media can be used, and how the information being presented can be evaluated. Some of these key areas are 1. Language in media and information. You need to consider how providers of media text use different language technology or techniques, or even different kinds of information to communicate. 2. How can you identify these uses and how they are accepted by public? 3. What are the codes or conventions or even the key ingredients or grammar of particular mediums? According to Marshall McLuhan, 1964, the medium is the message. This means that the medium itself, such as print, broadcast, or internet, affects the way we understand the world. Also, try to ascertain how the choice of media influences the kind of information we receive from it. How does it shape the message that passes through it? Presentation in media and information. We need to critically examine every aspect of media in order to have a thorough understanding of all the presentations made at every point in time. Items to be examined include media messages or representations, image or media text, the context of the media message or information, who benefits or who loses from the media presentation, how do the images affect how we see ourselves or the others, how do the presentations influence our knowledge and understanding of the world beyond our immediate environment, how do they influence our views of gender equality, women's empowerment, people living with disabilities, indigenous people, and ethnic minority groups. To what extent is editorial independence reflected in the media messages? Let us examine how to engage with media through production of user-generated content. The role of users, citizens, and audience. The users of the media, that is, the citizens and any other audience, are not passive onlookers in the communication process, but are active participants, as they are either latently or overtly performing some activities in the continuum of the communication process. Their functions include production / user generated content. In the production of messages by the user, it is important to identify who is creating the message or text so that we can ascertain the credibility of the source and the purpose for which the message is generated. 2. The citizens have a right to express themselves, so they should query any aspect of the media content they disagree with. 3. Because the citizens have the right to freedom of expression, they participate actively in democracy and governance through their feedbacks returned to the media channels in terms of phone-in programs and public debates. Bearing all this in mind, the citizens should therefore now see themselves as active participants in the communication process. Communication is not the prerogative of the media and other information providers alone. As citizens, you have your own personal, social, and cultural needs for information, which you also, as active participants, you need to factor into your own user-generated content, that is, messages. So when you access the media content in form of news and messages, entertainment or otherwise, you are required to critique the message for these aspects of your needs. Where they are lacking, you hold the media accountable for their lack of accountability and transparency. In this way, you are actively participating in the communication process. The citizens, as users or consumers of information providers' services. As active participants in the information process, being users of messages disseminated by the media and information providers, you need to be critically conscious of what you access and consume. Since inquiry is at the heart of media literacy, you need to ask yourself the underlisted questions while engaging with media and other information providers, so as to seek media content for our daily life activities. Some of these key questions we must ask include: what is the purpose of a media / information text? How was it produced? Who created it? Who is the intended audience? What is the main message? Who benefits from the message, and what do they gain from it? What are the information needs? How can they identify and define this need? Can I really identify the information got? How can they process this information before sharing it with other people? How can they preserve, store, and reuse records and achieve information and those got from other information providers? In conclusion, the essence of this lecture is to acquaint you with your responsibilities as participants in the communication process. It is very important that you perform your roles diligently as active participants in the democratic process. Remember that your ability to critique, evaluate, analyze media messages based on your own experiences, skills, beliefs, and values is key in promoting your civic identity. In this 21st century, intercultural dialogue and communication is not a luxury, but a vital necessity. According to Suraj 2016, I quote, "It is no longer simply an advantage to be media and intercultural literate, but a debilitating disadvantage not to be," unquote. I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture, which will be the concluding lecture for this week. Thank you.